All right, then, as acting chair, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 5:30. And the first order of business is the minutes and orders. Does any, so we'll do minutes first. The minutes are not complete in this case. The votes don't have who made the motion, who passed the motion, and what the vote tally was. So the suggestion on the minutes is that we, if there's any content that people want to bring up for correction, let's bring it up. And then the minutes will get corrected and we'll pass them next meeting.
No comments from anybody?
So that sound okay on your end?
Good with me.
Yep, he's good. Okay, so we'll approve them at the next meeting then. We'll make the corrections and approve them at the next meeting.
Does anyone have any other edits to the minutes besides the voting? None. Hearing none, we'll move on to the orders. Does anybody have any questions on the orders? Well, actually, let me back up 1 minute. We can't approve the executive session minutes. So maybe we'll approve those. Does anybody want to make a motion?
We'll make a motion that we approve the executive session minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
The one correction on there is just the meeting adjournment time. Should be 7:19 p.m., not 7:06.
We'll make that change. Okay.
If there's no other changes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Who seconded?
Trace made the motion, Tom seconded. Yeah.
So we'll take a motion to accept the orders.
I move to accept the orders from today.
Do we have a second?
That was second.
Okay. Any discussion, any questions on the expenses?
Just a quick note, our full board, Phil also joined, so.
Okay, great. So John, on page 2,
Yep.
Evans Motor Fuels, 276 gallons of diesel. Is that like filling up all the trucks in one shot?
So we have a tank behind the shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is it delivered?
1,000 gallon. Because you see another one a little further down for 384.
218. Okay.
Yep.
But they all appear to be very close together.
Well, when they're putting a lot of miles on, snow removal, snow plowing, things like that. So.
Okay. And how about the funds sent to the wrong library on the next page?
That was a grant that the library had received from Fidelity Investments. It was actually intended to be for Hartland, Wisconsin. We accidentally cashed that check, so we were refunding and sending the money back. Donation. Right. They labeled it a grant. It was a $200 donation. We accidentally cashed it. We were refunding it so it could go to the appropriate library in the appropriate state.
I have a couple of little things highlighted, but I can't remember why I highlighted them.
Go ahead.
Page 4 of 6.
Yep.
It looks like each building had double deliveries of fuel.
From Irving.
Yeah.
Yeah, Irving.
So it just seemed odd that there would be two for each building in the month of January.
What do you mean double deliveries?
Like there's a 136 gallons for Mountain Memorial, and there's a 42, 153 for the garage. Then low down there's a 290.
Propane. So one of the garages is propane. No, both are propane there.
Yeah.
But you'll see there's propane and oil in there.
Well, Martin got oil twice.
Martin got oil.
Damon got propane twice, and the garage got propane.
And we're on an automatic delivery system, so they're just coming. We're not calling them; they're just coming and topping things off.
It's cold as it is, they're just making sure.
I mean, is that accurate? The dates of they're only a week apart.
Yeah, yeah, they might have been in the area and we're just topping everybody off with the cold weather and all. They came to my house earlier than they've ever come, so I'm assuming they're just in the area.
So 400 gallons at Damon Hall is not unusual.
Not when it's this cold.
Now it's just cold, and we have been keeping the heat up a little higher, especially like over the weekends, both last weekend and the weekend before.
That was a long span of salting and sanding the roads, even though there wasn't snow like in between some of them. It was like every single day they had to salt and sand.
Yeah.
They used a lot of fuel for that.
Yeah, and it's been cold, so.
And the diesel obviously for the bucket loader and the backhoe.
Yeah.
Along with the trucks.
On page 5,
Yep.
is it the insurance payment? Is that for the year?
That's quarterly.
Quarterly?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, when it's after the credit this year, it's 107,000. Last year it was 105,000, I believe.
Anybody else? Tom, Phil, anything on your end?
We do.
No, I'm good.
All good.
Okay. So we have a motion. All those in favor of approving the orders?
Aye.
Aye.
We just did a motion of it. All right, gotta go to the next item. Hang on. I think we're gonna make a change to the agenda.
Recommend 2 changes.
Okay.
So one, an adjustment to the agenda. I'd like to add an agenda item. It's just a certificate from the assessor's office that there's no appeals or suits pending, so we can close out the grand list. Requires the board's signature. So if we can add that under new business.
And then we're gonna change the order so that we do CCI managed services update first.
Correct. That'd be my recommendation.
Do we have a motion to accept those changes?
I'll make the motion.
Trace makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Clyde seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thanks.
Are there any public comments?
Yes, I have a public comment. This is Helen Esmond. I noticed that a number of area towns received funding for municipal funding grants to update, sorry about the dog, Russ, to update, I'm going to go in another room. They received funding to update their town plans. Has Hartland or did Hartland apply to anything like that?
So Helen, we applied last year for municipal planning grant to do the Unified Development Bylaw that the Planning Commission just started. We got denied that application. And given that our town plan the town plan and the Unified Bylaw were kind of done or, almost done at the time, we did not apply this year. But those funds become available annually, so we anticipate applying in the future for those.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments?
Sarah.
Yes, I am wondering why, I believe I'm correct in saying this, but for many, many months, the agenda and the announcement of the select board meetings are no longer posted on the listserv. Am I correct? And if so, why is that? I thought that was pretty much a requirement.
It is not a requirement, Sarah. I do my best to try to remember to post it on the listserv. We are required to post them on the municipal website and at 3 locations throughout town. So that is the library, Damon Hall, and the North Hartland Post Office.
Okay, well, I would suggest that probably more people see it on the listserv than they see it at any one of those, or possibly all 3 of those physical locations, with my experience having posted on them. Anyway, thank you very much.
It's a matter of I very intentionally get them to where we need to get them. I will admittedly not always get them on the listserv.
But no concern about doing it in the future.
There's no, so long as I can keep it on my radar.
Is the listserv designed to carry town information like that? I thought it was for.
I think it is fine to communicate. The listserv is not a mechanism with which the town uses to communicate with residents, though. That's what we have a website for.
Website for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as an extra means, though, there's no harm in doing it.
It's not an official communication means. It's
correct.
It's extra.
But more available to more people easily without going to a separate website.
Yeah, we agree. All right, then, hearing no other comments online or here, we'll move on to CCI.
Great.
Hey, guys. I was asked to come in and do a little bit of a spiel on the update for your agreement with us. So I'll give you a quick little background. So I'm Mike DeMars. I'm the owner of CCI Managed Services. Been in the business now since 1987. We've worked with the town since September of 2015. And you guys have been part of our flagship Complete Care contract since 2020, February 2020. So that agreement is now up for its second re-up, basically, 3-year contract renewal. I know there was some concern about the cost of the agreement changing a little more than what maybe had been expected. And I wanted to shed a little bit of light on some of the why for that. So in this year's agreement, there are a couple of things that we are now including in the contract that used to be optional. And they're no longer optional because we've gotten to the place where, from a security standpoint, these tools are really necessary in order to have a network that is not constantly experiencing unplanned drama, basically. Over the last 12 months, my company's seen a large increase in the number of successful cybersecurity attacks within our own clients. The town has had several, 4 I think, that I was able to find tickets on, maybe a couple more if you include spoofs, which is a kind of a variant of an attack. So there have been some issues. And in all cases, looking at what happened, those issues actually would have been prevented by the products that we're looking to license and include in your contract. So I think this is an appropriate and measured response to real issues, not something imagined or hyped up by, I'm in an industry where there's a product for everything. And, my vendors are constantly trying to sell us snake oil. So I'm really careful to be, really do a good job of evaluating products and making sure that anything we ask our customers to pay for actually works. And especially if we're talking about products that we're going to actually weld into agreements and not make optional, which is what we're really talking about here. The 2 products that we're now including in your new renewal really are about half of the increase. They're a couple $1,000s a year. And so what they do, basically, one of them is a product from Huntress that it's called Intrusion Detection and Response from Microsoft 365. We like to use acronyms in my industry. We call that one ITDR. And so you have 23 mail accounts across everything in the town. Some of those are things as basic as one of them is a scanner that's used probably to send emails occasionally, so it needs a mail account for that. But most of them are humans, including the board. You each have a mail account. And so to protect those mail accounts from intrusion, we put this product in place. It's about $2.25 a month per user. So with 23 users, you do the math, and that's about $620 annually. That would have prevented most of the issues you've had over the last year with mail hijacks. So what it does essentially is it lives inside the Microsoft tenant, and when something happens that is out of the ordinary, it will alert my company. It alerts us 24/7, and we do have after-hours coverage. And if it's a significant event, it will actually freeze your account, disconnect your account so that we don't end up with a breach, essentially. So, for example, and this is a good one, when I went on my recent vacation, honeymoon actually, we went to Honduras. And before I went to Honduras, I had to let my security guy know that I was going to leave the country and go to Honduras, because with this product in place, if I had tried to log into my email account from Honduras, it would have immediately frozen my account, because it doesn't expect me to be in Honduras. But another good example would be if you were logging into your account here in the town office, and then 20 minutes later, somebody from Austin, Texas logged into that same account, that would also be a problem, because you can't be here and there at the same time. And so it would detect that, and it would result in an alert. Those types of things are examples. There are many others where mail accounts that are being compromised by hackers can be detected, and we can respond quickly to those issues. So it's an invaluable tool. We've seen in my company 15 incidents over the last year, and 6 of them in the last month, where that product could solve those problems. And so this is a way for us to get in front of that problem. And it looks like it's going to be growing exponentially at the rate of seeing things. You have to understand that AI, for all of its promise and wonder, is also behind a lot of this proliferation of these attacks. AI tools are being used by the bad guys to do all the kinds of things that are resulting in security breaches. I also just wanted to update you on a couple of other things we've been working with John on. We started last year getting a security scorecard in front of you folks, which is a tool that we're using to try to essentially map where you're at with your network security, identify what the most important next steps are to trying to improve that security, and then working with you to make sure we do it, okay? So that occurred last May. We're due for an update on that. Several of the items that were discussed in that last meeting have been resolved. There are a couple that still need attention. I know one of those is getting the 2-factor authentication everywhere that it needs to be for those mail accounts. And I know there's been some challenges around that. I'd like to see us move forward with completion of that sometime in the next few months. So John's indicated that we're moving forward with UB keys, I guess.
Well, came up at the last meeting, so
Okay.
I'll follow up with Rebecca on that.
Fantastic.
Are there multiple options for the 2-factor?
So I did follow up with our account manager at CCI. Landlines are not an option. So that was the question coming out of the last meeting, was whether or not we could use a landline.
But other choices, do you have
So the most
Can
common
one-
approach is smartphones, just
yeah,
using
can one
an app.
employee use a smartphone, another use email, and another use a token? Or does it have to be uniform?
It typically is done through either a smartphone app, and the UB key is more like it's almost like a little dongle that goes on a keychain that essentially provides that level of intelligence. So you can generate a code and respond.
But does the town have to have one choice town-wide?
You can use
or
both.
You can
Can use both.
So an employee can choose to use their cell phone
Correct.
or not?
Correct. Yeah.
We buy those
UB keys.
UV keys though, so there's a cost to those versus
And people lose them.
right. I mean, I think our quote was $75 or something per UV key or something around there.
Yeah. And I know we've seen some in the past that there's been some federal money available to pay for that stuff. I don't know if that's still true.
Yeah.
There have been some grants available, so you might look into that. But that is the best alternative to the smartphone that we're aware of. So if you've got some folks that prefer not to use their
So you
personal
get
phones.
the token, you get the phone, what are there other options beyond that?
Those are the two we typically are implementing.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that. We're working at another area that I'd like to see a little more effort maybe put in, and again, we're working with John on this. One of the deliverables that's not new to the contract is the end user security training piece. So that's something that every year they come out with a whole a new module with a couple of 20-minute long videos that you're supposed to watch and then pass a quiz on. It generates top-of-mind awareness around the security issues, which do change over time. So the security training that you're going to see this year is different than last year. They'll talk about some of the latest types of attacks. I actually take all of this training myself, so I eat my own ice cream on this one, and it's pretty interesting over the course of time how I hear about this stuff in the security training that I'm required to take, and then I hear my techs talking about customers who've had those problems recently when they're dealing with tickets and having, responding to the issues that real people are having. So they do tend to predict what's coming. I highly suggest that be something that gets a little more attention. Currently, there's only 12 people enrolled in the platform, and of those, 5 have not been engaging. So a kick in the butt on some folks that would hopefully get that moving would be terrific. Yep. Because at the end of the day, if you can keep people from clicking on things they shouldn't, life gets a little easier.
Why is everybody looking at me?
No, sorry.
So what we found is that when you take the 2 products that are now being included in your agreement, and you also include widespread use of the security training platform, those 3 pieces kind of form a perimeter, a triangle that we have found to be 100% effective thus far. I'm going to knock on wood because it'll change, but so far that has solved the issue. Now, we are in a world where this is an evolving situation, and John was just asking me, earlier, can I predict, what our pricing changes might be down the road, and it's very difficult because we know there's lots of products that claim to do lots of magical things, but the reality is until we see those things in some fashion being real and needing to be responded to, we're a little reluctant to just start baking in all kinds of things that don't necessarily need to be there. So we keep an eye on this stuff. Several of my staff, including myself, go out and attend national IT security conferences every year to try to get a sense of what's going on in the industry. That's what you pay us to do. So our goal is to try to make sure that we're bringing relevant, pragmatic, and hopefully well-targeted solutions to the town that will help you to stay ahead of this problem without wasting money.
So are you maintaining virus protection on all the systems?
Yep, that's been there forever. So the EDR product, endpoint detection and response, is the second piece. I talked about the mail protection a minute ago. So the EDR is intended to augment what your antivirus product does. So this product lives on the desktop. It's part of, lives in the operating system. And in a similar way, its intended use is to not just like an antivirus product is mostly definition based. It's looking for a pattern. It's looking for a fingerprint of something that it knows is bad. The problem is there's a lot of things going on where we're dealing with zero-day attacks. And I think a good example, I remember seeing one of your tickets. There was an individual not too long ago, I think in September, that had received an email with an attached PDF file, or so it appeared. They opened the attached PDF file, and it turned out that it was actually an application that provides remote access, and it was programmed or coded to provide the remote access to some nefarious actor. And so the result of that attack, which would have been prevented by this software, was considerable downtime and a fair amount of our time as we reloaded that system in order to make sure that we got it completely clean of whatever else might be there. So again, we're not trying to invent a solution to a problem that we don't think is real.
Our data is hosted at Microsoft, basically.
Yeah, you guys have taken our good advice. In the past, we recommended moving in the direction of going away from having a server here on-prem, and there's a lot of really good reasons why that was a good idea. You took our advice, and so that's where we live today.
Okay. So, but everything, like any documents we create, like
We
goes.
live in that tenant, so when something is compromised, if you have a hack that is successful, we're talking about not just your emails, but also the files you're saving in the Microsoft Cloud in products like SharePoint and OneDrive.
But are we saving everything on OneDrive in the cloud, or are we keeping things locally on laptops?
People should not be saving things on their desktops, but it happens. Anything that is shared or is like continually used, the minutes, agendas, things like that, those are all in the cloud.
Okay.
A lot of these products are designed to kind of do both. So like with OneDrive, you'll save the file to your PC actually, in a folder that
Right, but then it
is
gets
synced
shipped
up
up,
to
right.
the cloud immediately. So you have the advantage of immediacy, meaning you don't have to wait for the cloud sync to happen. You can just keep working.
If you want to work on it at home offline, you can.
Yeah.
When you
Then when you come
connect
back,
back up,
Precisely.
Thanks.
There's a lot more flexibility, and actually the security in many ways is easier to manage and better. However, as with anything, it has some downsides, and one of those is that if by some event, series of events, you lose control of an account, somebody from the outside of being able to log in, say as you trace, then at that point they have access to everything you have access to. And one of the problems we see also is not only do they have access to your data and information, but they're you. So they can send an email as you to someone, and they're going to believe it because it's your email. So that's the kind of thing we really want to be careful with. So again, these products are being welded into the agreement to try to help us to manage those issues.
Makes sense.
Yep.
In terms of the network, wireless hardware in the building, are we up to date?
As far as I'm aware, I didn't come prepared to talk about the wireless network. I apologize. My understanding in doing a cursory review of the agreement is that we have installed wireless in the building, and as far as I'm aware, it's working. I haven't seen anything that's contrary to that.
But no concerns about age of the equipment or vulnerabilities?
No, because
or
the product line that we're using, I did see AP125s, which are a WatchGuard product. It's an enterprise wireless product, and it's continuously updated. So we're always getting new firmware and applying those updates as needed.
One of the things that I've done with our account manager, CCI, is essentially my message has been, I don't, we're paying you to manage this for us, so, we want to be, as up to date as we need to be. So we're not, nitpicking on who gets in your computer or whether we want to spend money on this thing or that thing. We rely on them to tell us.
Another feature of your agreement with respect to wireless is that you're doing that through what's called hardware as a service. So when that equipment does reach an age where it makes sense to remove and replace, there's no cost to the town for that. We charge you on an ongoing basis for the use of that equipment, for the management of that equipment, for everything required to service and maintain and replace that equipment. Okay. And so what's nice about that is that if there comes a point in time where we're looking at the security posture of that equipment and saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't think that this older equipment is as good as it needs to be to do this job. There's a risk to my company because we don't want to be dealing with a breach. We'll come in proactively and replace that stuff.
Yeah, one last question.
Yep.
Do we have a VPN here? And if so, when people are working at home, are they going to VPN in?
So I saw 3 VPN-enabled accounts, and actually I had a couple of questions about that because it didn't look like they were recently been used. I only did a 30-day, I went back to the beginning of January, and none of them had been used since then. And so I was actually just discussing with the gentleman on my right here, and there's some question as to whether all or any of those accounts are even needed. So I am planning to go back to my office tomorrow and ask a few more questions when my account manager is available, and we'll make some decisions. I would love to see those 3 remote access accounts removed if they're not needed. The best security is to have no way to get in that way. And they could be an artifact from when you had a server.
But if people do work from home, are they better? They can connect to Microsoft 365.
That's the beauty of the cloud model is that you don't need to come into the office to get.
But you don't need a VPN to make sure that you're
right. That was my assumption. If there's a need for a VPN here, it would be more for example, we see VPNs used by vendors sometimes. Oh, well, we need to get in to access the HVAC system, or we need to be able to get in to access the phone system. So we'll see that type of thing sometimes, and that can be problematic. And then we also sometimes will see, a need for accessing the VPN to access something on the inside like a scanner or some other piece of hardware or equipment that's in the building. But the data doesn't live here. So as a result, the main reason why someone would use a VPN doesn't really seem like it flies here.
Well, the one kind of other vendor that we have is Nimerick, right? Mm-hmm. Where all the payroll processing and all town processing happens.
Yep.
It's unclear to me if that's a protected system, if that's kind of inside our world, or, you can access it remotely, right? Yeah. It's a single password to get in.
Right. It lives behind the CCI firewall, though.
I'm not sure which version of Nemrick you're using, to be honest. I know they have a hosted version, and I know they have a version that you can use on-prem. My assumption is that your version is the hosted.
Yes.
Yeah. I spoke with Kip and Rebecca about this when they came a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But you can log into it from home.
Conceptually you can, right?
But you can log into our system from home also.
But it's got a different protection
exactly
structure around it.
Right. So
I guess the question, and I know you guys might not be able to answer this, right? But the question is, if we have a system like Nemrick that has all our employee data or all our key town data, if that's just I log in, I have a username and password, is that really a secure thing?
I mean, you want two factors.
Is there something you can do to bring it, like whitelisted IPs that only we can get to? Or,
I would say and I would need to look into this a little further, but I would say that really what you're doing is you're accessing Nemrick from the device that you're using, wherever your device is. So you're not really, if that device lives outside of the perimeter of the network that we support, we have no control over that.
So it's really a question of Nemrick.
Right,
How to make that connectivity.
It's a Nemrick question, like what level can they do, two-factor authentication, outside.
When we think about two-factor authentication, we have to think about all of the places where, personally identifiable information lives, okay? So we tend, in my world, to think a lot about the Microsoft tenant because we know that email is where a lot of information lives. When you think about the communications you have there, the attachments that end up in there, and then the other things that happen in that Microsoft world oftentimes include file sharing as well. So that tends to be a pretty important place to think. But line of business applications, which I may not have a lot of visibility or knowledge of, if you're using a software for your appraisals or other kinds of systems that the town may have access to that are not, the data is not being stored inside the walls of the town hall anymore. So two-factor authentication becomes a question for each of the vendors where that information lives. How are they handling that?
So you follow up, John, right?
Yep.
That's what your employee social security numbers are.
No, exactly. So it's a Nemrick follow-up question.
All right, that's super helpful. Folks on the phone, Tom, Phil, do you have any questions?
Yes, Jim. Mr. Demard, how many licenses did you say we had? 20-something?
There are 23 accounts in the Microsoft tenant that are licensed. However,
are those equivalent to a license, or how do you charge us for those 23? Is that how it's factored in?
So we resell the agreement for Microsoft. We're a reseller of Microsoft. The actual licenses come from Microsoft. But yes, we have a couple of different types of licenses appropriate to different uses. I think, for example, those of you on the select board have a less expensive, more basic license type than someone in the town that's doing more, using more of the storage and other types of features that may not be needed by a select board member who's primarily concerned with mail.
Right, because we have requests from other commission members to create folders in the file storage world. And I think we'd be interested in understanding the pricing for limited access, no Outlook, no other tools, just directly into the file system, passing into folders that have the ownership set so they can pass through the folder name to the file.
Okay.
I can follow up with Rebecca. I'll follow up with Rebecca on that.
Yeah, there are many different tiers of licensing that have different feature sets and associated costs. We tend to use the same 4 or 5 most of the time, and I think the town uses 3 of the 4 that I mostly work with. So it may just be a matter of adjusting what you folks are getting and then teaching you how to use it, or showing you, giving you the tools to use it effectively.
That's all I have.
My account manager, Rebecca, would be a great person to work with John on that.
Okay. On my list for our next quarterly meeting.
Fantastic. Put it on the agenda.
Great.
Any questions at the table? All right, hearing none, I think we're good. Appreciate you
Thank you.
educating us.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate coming in. I'll be in touch. I'll sign this and get back to you. Thanks, Mike.
Do we need a motion to approve the agreement? Or?
No, you don't sign it. It's me. It's in the budget. Yep, it's operational. Okay.
All right, so I think we're gonna flip back to old business at this point and talk about the town plan chapters. Which means new file.
Yep. And Dan is online with us. So at the last meeting, we talked about skipping chapter 1, but diving into the town plan review, going into chapters 2 and 3. So I hope you all, they were relatively short and painless. So hopefully everybody read them and is ready.
I'm not sure how you define short or painless.
Relatively short.
But the two chapters we're talking about are, chapter 2 is natural, historic, and scenic resources, and chapter 3, which is water resources. So the homework was to read through it, and then if you had questions, concerns, suggested changes, to bring those in.
Dan, do you want to walk us through them? Or Jim, let me defer to you. Do you want to have Dan walk us through the chapters quickly and then go into?
If that's helpful for the folks here, that'd be great. If folks already have kind of looked through this and have specific questions, we can entertain those.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the plan with me. I'm in a hotel room in Santa Fe, but but we made very few changes to chapters 2 and 3. So if you look at the old town plan and this one, I don't think you'll see much difference at all.
Yeah.
But Tom, Phil, online, anything that you've uncovered that you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I had a question on, let me get my notes. It was the chapter 3. I wrote down the wrong page number. It had to do with stormwater, and they state in here that if there's greater than half acre of disturbance, that it should trigger stormwater. And I believe it's a 1 acre rule.
I wouldn't know the answer to that. If it's a state regulation, it is what it is, and I guess our plan should conform to that. But I don't recall that we consider that as an issue.
I can double check the regulatory language and make sure that it's the same.
Yeah, we had no intent to keep it a half acre as opposed to a 1 acre.
Yeah, so Tom, I found your reference. I'm trying to find the page number.
Yeah.
I
have page 239. I know that's wrong.
But, I have it on page 39. The page is in the top right corner.
Yep. It's under Rivers and Ponds Recommendations 3B.
There you go.
So I'll double check that if it's an acre.
Yeah, I'll just check that. Yep. And that's the only thing I really questioned in those two chapters. I'm going through them.
Yep. I had a couple of questions for Dan regarding in chapter 3.
Chair recognizes the town manager.
Unsurprisingly, in the flood hazard river corridor section. Dan,
What page are you on?
I'm starting on page 42. I think some of this might just be leftover language from the 2017 town plan that just needs to be amended. There's not actually two sets of, starting right at the beginning, there's not actually two sets of maps. There's only one set of regulatory maps for the town of Hartland. They are the flood insurance rate maps. Later on page 44, it says,
I'm sorry, which paragraph?
right under flood hazard and river corridor areas in town, on page 42.
42.
The first sentence says there are two sets of official maps that govern development in floodplains. There's one.
So there's not a FEMA, you know?
There are Vermont Agency of Natural Resources river corridor maps, but currently those are not regulatory to the town. So they do not govern anything in 2026 in this project.
Yeah, you could check with Two Rivers on that because, whatever,
But
if they
I feel fair. I can double check, but I feel fairly confident speaking with some authority here.
Yeah, again, we didn't make any deliberative decision to have it be two.
Yep. And Dan, since you're in, I want to, in the flood resilience goals, policies, and recommendations section.
Can I just go back to that?
Yep.
Is the word that you're worried about govern?
Yes.
So like govern maybe changes to influence, or one set that influences and one set that governs?
Well, yeah, the important distinction is one is regulatory. The flood insurance rate maps are regulatory. Currently, the river corridor maps are a guidance tool only. So we could change that sentence around to reflect that.
Yeah.
But those are important. It's an important distinction to be made. Okay. Later on in the policies, it does talk about adopting the river corridor maps. But as of today, that doesn't exist. Dan, on page 44, the first recommendation under flood hazard regulation is to prohibit all new development in the 100-year floodplain. Did you all talk about that? That's a relatively big suggestion.
Yeah, very briefly, but the that was the flood seemed to be in our view seemed to be coming more frequently and worse. So just thought it might be better for the town to just not put development in the way of potential floods.
Okay.
But again, it's it wasn't anything we spent a lot of time on. We just whoever was writing that chapter just suggested that, and we went along with it. But again, if the select board feels different, that's fine.
But this isn't a show, right? This is an observation that the following changes would help.
Correct.
Right. So it doesn't sound like it's a requirement. It sounds like it's a recommendation.
It does not. But if we are following the map that is the town plan is the guidance, and the bylaw that is currently being crafted is the implementation, this could be used in the implementation of the regulatory tool that is being developed.
Yes. Yeah.
That decision has to be made whether it belongs in that tool.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
So
we also don't have a map of the 100-year floodplain, do we?
What do you mean?
Well, they're saying prohibit all development in the 100-year floodplain.
Yep.
We don't actually have a map that shows that.
It's available in multiple locations. We have paper maps in town. You can view it on the A&R Atlas, or you can view it on the FEMA Natural Flood Hazard Boundary Map, which are in fact the regulatory tools in 2026.
I don't think you can check with what materials you have there, but I don't think we included that map in our town plan that we passed on. I could be wrong about that.
Right.
I don't recall that.
My point is that's very, very restrictive without any additional language that says you need to have it over maybe a foot above base flood elevation or something. But the absolute prohibition, it's going to have an enormous impact.
Right, because Tom, and to put a finer point on that, and this is my concern, the word development has a very strict definition in floodplain regulations.
Yeah.
Development under floodplain regulations is any man-made change to the landscape, period. So that language means you can't put a bag full of rocks in your yard if you live in the 1% chance annual flood hazard area. That's an extreme example, but that's what this language means.
If adopted in the bylaw.
If adopted in the bylaw, but again, the town plan is the guidance, the guiding document, the vision, if you will.
Yeah. So I mean, Tom, if you read the language here, if you have it.
I do. I have the town plan right in front of me.
Yeah, I just don't see it as compelling us to put this in the bylaw. It's a suggestion to consider this. So we could change language now. That's fine. If John wants to submit a recommendation, that'd be fine. Or we can just leave it to the planning commission to figure out what really does go into the bylaw in Two Rivers.
Jim, sorry, I don't want to argue this point, but
No, I'm giving you an option.
Yep. Under recommendations on page 46, the first recommendation, it loosens it a little bit, but it does say to revise Hartland's flood hazard regulations to prohibit new development, excluding small ancillary structures in the 100-year floodplain. So again, it is putting a strict prohibition on, in essence, new structures.
Yeah, just give you an exclusion. Revise, excluding small ancillary. Yeah, so you have an exclusion.
Yeah.
What a small ancillary structure is.
Nor do I.
Tool shed.
No, right. I mean, arguably a garden shed type thing, but.
So, what are you suggesting?
I just want to make sure, I'm supportive of the language, but it is restrictive, and I want to make sure that we're all understanding of how restrictive it is.
I think we should table the discussion on this flood stuff and think about it a little bit more, because there's also other items in there. They keep talking about the river corridor plan, but we don't even have one.
Right.
And so, and I haven't heard any discussion from the planning commission that they want to develop one. And I know that they can be pretty contentious in some communities as far as whether they want to do that vis-a-vis having the firm maps. So, and I'm sorry, I missed that. I personally think it should be struck.
Yeah, because I can see insurance companies, so the things that come into my mind are insurance companies saying you can't build there because it's a flood zone. We won't insure you. A building that has a septic field versus one that does not, as a barn for cattle or something to that effect, power, roads. If you're digging a pond, if you're excavating, all those things should have opportunity, unless it's going to affect the watershed, unless it's going to affect your insurance company's ability to insure you. So I think that has to be looked at again.
So what's the recommendation, Tom? That we table it, or that we?
Well, then if you go on to page 46 and you go down there, there's more references to that in there. And again, they're incredibly restrictive.
Well, maybe it's just verbiage. Maybe it's just the way that it's stated.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if we're going to.
Right.
I was suggesting not to.
Right. So, Tom, what you're saying is under recommendation number 2 on page 46 is, again, very restrictive. So to modify Hartland's flood hazard regulations to prohibit commercial, industrial, and residential uses within the A&R map river corridor areas. The river corridor is often wider and more expansive than the floodplain.
Yes.
So a few pages back, they have some numbers about 71 total structures that are in the 500-year floodplain. Arguably, there's at least that many, plus I bet you there's 750 or more structures within the river corridor. So, if we're prohibiting all new development in the river corridor, it takes out a large swath of the land area in town.
And again, people don't have a map to see it because they haven't adopted it yet.
Right.
But these are not policies. We get recommendations.
They're
So is there anything? So I'm not saying they shouldn't change.
Yeah.
A suggested change should be entertained. You come up with the wording, talk it over.
Yeah, you just don't want any bylaw to be conflicting with what you have in the town plan.
Right. But in terms of the policies that are listed here, that would theoretically have to go into the town plan, are there any problems with those?
But what we could do is we could strike those things, and then when the planning commission develops the river corridor plan, then we can come back and amend the town plan so it's consistent. But again, we're referencing something that hasn't been adopted by the community, so I don't really know what exactly they have in mind. Because when you're developing these river corridor plans, there's a lot of negotiating that goes on with DEC. Because as John said, they can be very extensive in certain areas.
Right.
So what's your suggestion?
So my suggestion is, we can take out, to Tom's point, take out some of the language that is referencing work to be done in the future, river corridor plans, river corridor bylaw adoption. I would, as of today, soften a little bit of the language in the policy section, so number 8 in policies to limit land uses in the river corridor to non-structural, outdoor recreational. I think, again, that's striking the same tone, like no new development in the river corridor. So I think that, we just have to be careful of what we're putting in the town plan in this section, because especially as the planning commission is currently in development to craft a unified bylaw.
Can we state that, just to say that it's contingent on developing plans for the...
I don't think we can say that but I think we can, to what Thomas is saying, we can strike some of this language once the bylaw is developed, amend the town plan again if we need to.
And I would add, as a goal, is to develop a river corridor plan and make that as a specific goal. And that's what they want to do, since we don't have one.
Okay, so the inclusion of a goal.
Yeah, so I would,
or relaxing language, right?
Yep.
Under flood resilience goals, policies, and recommendations, you could have a goal is to develop the river corridor plan. So that's what they want to do.
Are you comfortable doing
Or
that?
you could even have just something more generic to say is they should look into strengthening Hartland's flood hazard regulations and just leave it fairly generic, and they can decide what they want to do later on.
Right, they could do that.
All right, so I think the suggestion on the table is to have John make a pass at the goal and, suggested changes for this section and bring those back to the next meeting so we can review them. Does that sound fair to people?
How much time do we have to get this over?
Probably till the end of the year, but we don't want to go that long.
We have a plan in place.
We have to do a couple of hearings that are spaced apart,
Yeah.
so there's 60 days there.
So I think we're not talking big changes to this chapter.
No.
I think that, I'm comfortable making those changes. There's a couple of other small things, it's in particular in this section.
So suggest the changes.
Yep.
Make sure that we don't lose the concepts of we keep the goals there.
Yep.
And then we'll approve them next meeting and put them up.
And,
Have two of us put them into the document.
and do we want to go into chapter 4 during the next meeting then as well?
Why do we skip chapter 1?
Chapter 1 is land use.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to me to go through the rest of the town plan because all the other chapters inform the land use chapter. And chapter 4 is housing.
Okay, that's a good one.
So at the next meeting, I will have revisions to the water resources chapter, specifically the flood resilience section. We can talk about those and move into chapter 4.
So housing is 6 pages. Transportation,
Yep.
oh boy.
So
68. Transportation is not that much bigger, right?
we are time limited at the next meeting.
But those are two real, I mean, I think these are shorter than the ones we just did.
Possibly. We have to be done by 6:45 at the next meeting
Okay.
because the school board meeting starts at 7 upstairs and Race has to make his way from A to B. And
so how does the board feel? Do you feel like we can get through the next 2 chapters, 4 and 5, which is housing and transportation? They're both about 8 pages. Or should we just do 1?
Well, we could go for 2, and if we don't make it, we'll just move it to the next.
Let's do
But
that.
at least people will know what we're going to talk about.
okay.
So can we back up a little bit into chapter 2,
Yes.
page 27, second paragraph, it says, dairy products such as beef and veal. Well, beef and veal are not dairy products. So such as should be taken out of
What page are you on?
27.
Dairy products such as beef and veal. I don't know. Glad, are you sure they're not?
I don't know too many people that
What if
milk
you
beef
get
cows.
the beef off a dairy cow?
Well, you get the beef off a dairy cow, but there's apples and oranges in my book. So I would think it would say dairy products, comma, beef and veal, wool and hay, and market
It
gardens.
sounds like there's a comma missing.
We could say farm product.
Such as is out there, because beef is a byproduct of the dairy industry, but it's not a dairy product.
Or we could just change dairy products to say farm products. We
Or you could just leave such as out.
we could just strike the word such as. We will clarify that sentence.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Strike.
Then,
Yep. Oh, there you go.
on page 29,
Yes, sir.
So John, do you have that?
Yep.
document?
Yep.
up on the first line, encouraging local retailers. Seems so we had a big fight about keeping a local retailer out of it. But anyways, down in the second paragraph on the natural areas,
Yes.
the Connecticut River as it flows through Hartland, it does not go through Hartland, it bypasses us in New Hampshire. I would say change that to it flows past Hartland. Now, I know it's nitpicking, but
Well, I think those changes should be made, but I would say that I think our mission was to not look for kind of the grammatical stuff.
well, then who is going to look at the grammatical stuff so you don't look like an idiot when somebody reads it in 25 years?
Well, it goes by.
I will amend that sentence with some other down as it flows downstream adjacent
By Hartland?
to, yes, sure. We can find something there that accurately reflects what the river does on the landscape.
Yes, so, I mean, our minutes specifically say focus on the substantive issues rather than the minor grammatical.
Yeah.
That's caught. Duly noted. Let's fix it.
I agree.
Okay. No problem.
Any other feedback from Phil, Tom?
No,
Nope. Great.
Any other feedback at the table?
Not for me.
Then I think we are good to ban winter parking. So John, I think John is going to walk us through this one.
Sure. So we've had a couple of instances this winter where public overnight parking in the public parking areas, specifically in Three Corners, has been a recurring issue. It does slow down operations as, you know, at 3 a.m. as we're plowing around cars and sanding around them and salting around them. Then they move and we have to go back to revise it. I think there's 3 options I want to present to the board. One is to do nothing. You know, we're seeing, I would say, on a nightly basis, 3 to 4 cars parked overnight in different public parking areas in Three Corners, specifically. So we could do nothing and just the road crew has to kind of make do. We could have an outright winter parking ban, you know, blanket parking ban from December 1st to April 1st, whatever the dates might be. Or I sent you an example of what the town of Middlebury does, which is when there is snow in the forecast, they prohibit overnight parking. That would require the purchase and installation of signs, and then, you know, kind of ongoing messaging. But I can envision those snowmobile signs that V-Trans puts up, snowmobile crossing signs that flip in half. And during the summer months, they're folded in half and you don't see it. During the winter, they unfold and there's a snowmobile there.
But you're talking about really 3 areas. The one across the street, the one right in front of Damon Hall.
Yep.
In our back parking lot.
Correct. And basically it's 1 car per each of those lots.
Right. So 1 sign in each lot.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's relatively straight. Again, there's a cost to that. That would be my preferred option.
Is that a policy that we have to create?
It is a significant enough change that I don't think we have to create a policy, but that it should be approved by the board.
But you don't think we need to add it to a parking policy?
I don't think we need to have a parking policy, no.
I think we do.
So I think
it's a policy around parking up on state, you know, it's all on Station Road. I think we have a policy that covers that. So it doesn't matter to me. I think there's a place to put it if we want to make it policy. If you just want a motion and a vote, we can do that.
Okay.
Phil, Tom, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I see the nuisance. You know, I just, one of the parking areas is used as parking for a rental unit. And with the intersection change, those parking spaces kind of got changed as well. So I guess I'm comfortable with the proposed solution.
So currently, all other lots in Three Corners are unmarked. So there is a solution, right? We're not necessarily taking away parking spaces. It's just we're moving the available parking on those snowy days farther away.
So do you guys want to do it by updating a policy, or do you just want to take a vote and say that we're going to implement this change?
I think I don't know if John has talked to the property owner who has the rental units, who have a number of vehicles, at least 2, I think, that park overnight. There is a local tenant that's renting, I believe, that's parking behind the, and that's a nuisance. You know, I came in recently and I couldn't find a place to park, so we do have a potential problem with safety, but I also want to respect the people that are running businesses in town and make sure that we're not harming them. I don't know where the alternate parking would be on a snowy night.
The Mascoma Bank parking lot is currently unsigned.
Uh-huh.
as the one by the laundromat.
So we're
So
just passing the buck around there, and yeah.
So I can reach out to the property owner who would, who Phil was referencing there. But I think by a simple vote of the board, to adopt an as-needed winter parking ban.
All right, so the proposal, right, instead of updating an existing policy with a winter parking ban, is just for us to now approve a winter parking ban. So if somebody wants to make that motion, I'll entertain it. Anybody?
So if we make people move, then those people, like a BG's or whatever, they're now going to have to plow around all these parked cars. So we're moving plowing difficulties from one entity to another. Is that kind of how I'm hearing this?
That's what I understand, Tom.
Well, I think we're removing the problem for our town road crew, right? Where those folks choose to park is not our problem.
So since we're creating this problem, why don't we allow them to park in Damon Hall parking lot for a certain period of time, say till 7 a.m., if they got to move?
So prohibiting.
I think Damon Hall parking lot is one of the challenges.
Right.
But there are cars there as well.
But again, I'll go back to whoever is doing the commercial plowing for BG's and for the laundromat. If they have cars there, and I don't know how many cars we're talking about, we're also creating an issue for them because they're not going to be able to clean the whole parking lot.
Right. And they're likely to put up signs after we do if that becomes a problem.
Right.
In which case they'll move down to Mike's or the library.
Right. We are, to your point, Tom, yes, we are kind of passing it off here. We're solving the road crews problem at 3:30 in the morning by not having to plow around cars in public parking spaces overnight. Okay,
so then why don't we take the responsibility and allow them to park in Damon Hall parking lot? We're only talking about 2 cars until they gotta have the car out by 7 o'clock.
It's really a known number of cars, Tom. And then that lot doesn't get plowed for employees to get in the next day.
Right.
No, I'm saying that's why you're going to do it early. You're going to have them out of there by 7 o'clock.
The other thing would be to, if we adopted something like this, would be cars that are parked there overnight will be ticketed and towed at the owner's expense. And that would need to have teeth to it and meaning. We wouldn't adopt a policy where we would not follow through on those actions.
I think we need to tell whoever the rental owners are what we're thinking of doing and having them come back and talk to us at our next meeting if they want, or if they're okay with it, do it. But they're going to be very surprised by this, right? There's been no discussion with these people.
To date, no. So I can reach out to those that I'm able to get a hold of and go from there.
Trace, what do you think?
I'm just confused as to the location.
Yep.
Where's the location of these cars that are being parked that are in the wrong place?
There is currently, as it exists frequently now, one in the Damon Hall parking lot, one in the front of Damon Hall, and one across the street in the public parking area in front of Matt Dunn's building.
All right, so I think,
you can't park in their driveway to their rental space.
The parking spaces across the street become more limited with additional snow.
So that would be, like, if you have a rental space, then you shouldn't provide parking space for the rental people. We're having a problem with that at Four Corners also, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I would say that
but that's not
a business, right? It's a business.
That's not a problem we can solve or address as a town, though.
No.
so I think Tom's suggestion of reaching out is a good step, and then we circle back next meeting and
Great.
decide what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I think always talking to people first is probably a good idea instead of just closing down your options for them.
Sherry, Chair's gonna recognize Sherry for a comment.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. If you're gonna make a policy, you also have to follow it through with the outcome. What's the outcome if they do park there after you have that policy? And that's something you have to make sure that you follow through and carry it out.
Right.
And have that in document.
Yeah, if you talk to them personally, then they can change where they're parking. Maybe we don't have to make a policy.
But, so for instance, it would be like a town crew member that's coming, do they have permission to call a garage?
Right.
Hold them or something, or the sheriffs to ticket them.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I mentioned that. Yeah.
yeah.
Town crew could do what I saw on Facebook the other day, and just plow the car right in with snow on, right up, halfway up the door, go park somewhere else.
Okay.
So I think that is the conclusion of our
Yes.
new business.
So, no, we have the amended agenda item. So, which Cheyenne will talk to us about real quick. Cheyenne, this is PVR form 4155, certificate no appeal or suit pending.
Yes. This is due tomorrow for the assessor's office.
Well, thanks for the advance notice, Cheyenne.
I don't want to throw Bob under the bus, but if you'll see there, the form is signed by Bob, because he's in the assessor's office and I'm in the clerk's office. I just know what this form means. That's why I'm giving you the information. So this just means that there's no appeals or suits pending against the assessor's office.
The right.
And
No.
we can close out this grand list.
Right. Right. We apologize for the short notice or lack thereof.
There you go. I lined something on an initial that.
Assessor, oh, I see.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she's got that before.
He wants
to. Great. People want to get paid, right?
Okay.
Thank you for signing it.
Even if you sign in the wrong place.
Even if you sign in the wrong place, we'll still count it. Okay.
So we're gonna move on to the town manager update.
Great. So, it's been cold. We talked about it a little bit. It's been causing some issues.
Thank you
with,
for that informative, insightful update.
Well, that's what I'm here for. Unsurprisingly, it's been causing some heating issues, particularly at the library. We're continuing to work through them. In the heater in the foyer of the building is problematic, but I think everything is back in operation and warm, so it's okay. Also, as anticipated, with the new tenants in the building at 29 Brownsville Road, the Four Corners School, we're seeing a slight, increase in the requests for changes, right? Like long-standing things that may have been problematic that the previous tenants were just dealing with. So we continue to work through those. They've been really gracious about having their own contractors do some of the work as well. We were notified recently that the fireworks contractor that we dealt with for many years was bought by a larger company. And because this is the 250th anniversary, scheduling fireworks is not only more difficult this year, but also more expensive this year. So I was talking with John Leonard today, we're going in the path of probably having fireworks on Friday night, concert and fireworks on Friday night, and then Old Home Days celebration on Saturday this year. So Saturday is the 4th of July this year. We cannot get fireworks for Saturday night. It's cost prohibitive. So just be aware, Old Home Days will become more of a weekend celebration.
So what are the days again? The 4th is on?
The 4th is on a Saturday. So we'll do concert and fireworks on Friday night, and then the parade and festivities on Saturday. So
that's going to require some good communication.
Right. This was kind of
maybe a newspaper article.
Yeah. So we'll do our best to get the word out. we have the Planning Commission began their work with the Two Rivers Regional Planning Commission on the Unified Bylaw at their January meeting. They're meeting again this Wednesday. In January, it was really just a kickoff meeting. This week will begin kind of the work in earnest. And those meetings are, publicly warned and noticed. So if people want to participate, it would be encouraged. And then we've talked about this a little bit already. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, which is the day after President's Day. That Monday's a holiday. We need to be done early so folks can transition upstairs for the school meeting. So there'll be a shortened agenda for the next meeting, which is on Tuesday, the 17th. Trace, you want to write that down? No.
Tuesday the 17th.
Okay.
Get that one memorized.
Good. We'll send out
We'll
a
write it down. Come think of it. Tuesday the 17th plus school board meeting.
So
Okay.
That's your update, John?
That is my update.
So on the future agenda items, town meeting overview, highway policy, Quechee road funding. Don't we have to circle back to cemetery exploration with the sonar stuff?
Not as far as I'm aware.
I thought we were going to have the cemeteries inventoried. And
We did have some inventoried.
what we did.
We did. And what will come up again probably in this spring is we had agreed to work with Vermont Old Cemeteries Association on doing some gravestone repair or some headstone repair. So we'll have to revisit that to pick a date. But they were going to work with Dan Moranci on that.
But does the town have what it needs to allow people to use the cemeteries?
We are more informed. It's difficult though at best. But again, there was only 1 to 2 people who had been requesting burial in town cemeteries where we did not have information.
Okay, so there's no follow-up action by the board at this point?
No, there's no need for follow-up action.
Excellent.
I also have the winter parking ban on there for future agenda items to follow up on.
Any correspondence?
There is no correspondence.
Then, if that's the case, do we expect action out of our executive session or not?
I don't know the answer to that question. That will be up to the board to decide.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we go to executive session under 1 V.S.A. 313 A1A to discuss contracts.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Phil. All those in favor? Aye. Passes.
Great.
Make a motion to authorize the town manager to work with our attorney to draft a letter to the Windsor County Sheriff's Department regarding our policing contract. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Hey,
Thanks.
wait.